Rose, welcome to the Lessons of a Lashpreneur show.
Hi, how are you?
Good. All right. Let's talk about where you are, your business, kind of give people a heads up as to who you are.
Okay, I'm Rose. I own two lash studios. I own one in Chino Hills, California, and I own another one in Brea, California.
Yes, California, the place where having employees is super fun.
Lots and lots of fun for sure.
Yes, the highest minimum wage and the most regulations and litigation, I think is what California would fall under.
Correct. You've got to definitely cross your T's, dot your I's, or you can really find yourself in a very bad situation, unfortunately.
Yeah, and know a good attorney.
Yeah, you need to know that one in advance, unfortunately.
On speed dial. Awesome. Okay, so you have two locations. How many team members do you currently have?
Right now I have approximately 10 members at each location, so a total of 20 members.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And are you still lashing?
I have just got out of the chair. So that was something we talked about quite a bit. It was very hard for me to pull back, but I really, after doing it, wish I would have done it a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what's amazing is how much are you doing in annual revenue about?
I'm currently with both studios or per studio?
Both studios.
I'm doing about 1.3.
Yeah. Boom, you guys, boom. I just wanted to paint some hashtag goals because Rose really is hashtag goals for, in a lot of ways, for what I think most lash artists envision when they're like, oh, I want to build out a team. I think the level that you're at is what they think that they're working towards or want. And part of what today's conversation is going to be the reality of what that looks like at your level, because I don't think a lot of them have an idea of what the day-to-day looks like, or even the challenges that you face, or that you do have challenges still, that it's not just like hunky-dory and you're sitting on vacation, 6 months out of the year. And also just kind of the cool parts that come in each phase of growth, because there's like you as the solo artist, and then you getting to the point where you're building out your first few team members and then scaling from there. So let's kind of start with the journey of like how you got into even being a business owner and what that looked like for you.
Well, I first started out not wanting to be a business owner. I actually started off by working in salons, and I went through a couple of salons, and the salon owners, I'm not trying to speak badly about them in any way. I want to make that very clear. But there wasn't organization there. There wasn't the structure that I craved. Both of them were not lash artists, which means that they did not understand the needs I had. And the pay structure, I was not an employee. I was not protected in that sense. There was just a lot of things that weren't done the way I wanted to. So I thought, oh, well, I'll just go out on my own. Then at least I could do things the way correctly. And it would be, this salon where they're doing 22 different things, and one of them happens to be lashes. Or I did work at a lash salon, and the woman she didn't do lashes. So unfortunately, the organization was not there, and I don't think the structure was anywhere near where I wanted it to be.
And there was a lot of toxicity from my understanding, right? Like it just wasn't a healthy work environment.
Cattiness. There was a lot of cattiness. There wasn't a team mentality, but at the time I didn't understand that that's what I really wanted, was that team and that connection. Yeah. I just knew that it wasn't what I wanted, and I didn't feel like I fit in that place.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point too, because I do think a lot of people that want to build out a team or that struggle with building out a team is they're worried that they're going to bring people in that are just going to take all of the amazing training and go open up their own place, and that they're basically just creating their competition. But you speak to the points that you actually did that because you weren't classified correctly. There was no structure, or really what sounds like an opportunity for you individually to be set up for success in those roles. There was a toxic environment. There wasn't a team feeling. And so in a lot of ways you thought, why am I continuing to work under somebody that I don't enjoy working under, and in an environment that I don't feel I'm set up for success? I might as well go do it on my own. And so in a lot of ways, the business structure that you're creating, if you want to build out a team, you can minimize people wanting to go out on their own when you create a place that's enjoyable to work.
Well, and I think commission breeds competition.
Ooh, I love that. Ooh, that is a tagline for sure. My podcast team better take that out. Hint, hint. But talk more to that about commission breeds competition. How have you seen that play out?
It breeds where like for example, at our studio, we stress that if your teammate needs help, you help them. But in a commission basis, you're afraid of losing your client. So like, it doesn't matter if I take the client or Sally or Susan takes the client. We all want that client to be happy because we want them to come back to them. And in the sense, how can any of us go on vacation if they are only loyal to that one artist?
Yeah.
And that is my later struggle once I was alone, was the fact that I couldn't go anywhere other than straight in my chair.
Yeah.
And that's why I did start hiring people, was thinking that I would have freedom. Little did I know that was not at all what happened.
Okay, so let's fast forward to that point. You're a solo lash artist, and what was the point that you were at where you're like, I need help, I need to bring on a team member?
I wish I would have met you then, because you would have given me some very solid advice. But I was working from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week.
Ouch, that sounds painful.
Yeah, it got to be, I was tired. I was more than tired. If I would have known me now, I would have told me to raise my prices, cut back my hours, put boundaries in place. But unfortunately, I thought the answer to my problems was to hire other technicians.
Right, because it'll be easier, right?
Yeah, I thought it would be easier, but it just bred new different kinds of issues, because unfortunately I didn't have the structure set up because, like I have the structure as a lash artist, but when you bring on employees, you have to set up a completely different type of structure, because you're no longer Rose, the lash artist. Now you're Rose, the business owner / manager / little did I know,
payroll specialist.
Then you got to learn payroll, and you've got to learn all of these other things that you had no idea came along with a simple task of hiring someone.
Simple task of hiring. There's the belief, right? Yeah, because when you are max capacity, even if you're not at max capacity, but you're working as much as you're willing to work, and it's just exhausting, the answer, the way to get more of your time back is not necessarily to hire, because that actually creates a lot more layers of responsibility and legalities involved in that. And we did have some of our members go through that, where they were kind of max capacity, and what they needed to do was actually pull back to get their time back, so they could invest in training a team member, and the time that it takes, because there is a lot that, as far as time to onboard a team member correctly, they need the actual artist, especially when you're one person trying to build out your first team member. You need time to spend with that person to train them the way that you want it done. This expectation that you're just going to get a warm body in there and fingers crossed they can lash is how you get a high turnover of team members, right? Because why would they stick around?
Well, and then you're unhappy and they're unhappy, and it's really your bad management that caused that problem. And that was something that I had to unfortunately look at myself and realize, like, this is not them. This is definitely a me issue.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, once you kind of got going with one team member, two team members, when did you get the point to where you would then expand it into a second location?
When I was at max capacity at that location and I couldn't grow anymore.
Okay.
I was doing very well at that location, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be fun to do this again? But the problem was I forgot what it was like to grow it. And then it was definitely everything ×2, and all of my systems that I had in place broke.
Yeah. And that is a very, very accurate reality of what happens when you scale. So scaling is stop trading your time for money and creating a repeatable growth plan that doesn't require the owner's time anymore of the owner's time. And so when you get to new levels of growth, your systems that you created at the original level of growth will break, and you have to repair them or create new systems to get to the next level of growth, and they break. And that's kind of very traditional what happens. We call it new level, new devil here at Lashpreneur. So tell me about the pain points that you were experiencing that led up to you becoming a mastermind member.
I had already started implementing some systems that were really successful. and we're creating better results.
Like what?
And
Like
for example, I used to book every person by hand. So I switched to online. My employee hiring process changed. My training system changed. But I still hadn't got to the place that I thought I wanted to be. I guess I just didn't know how to take me from A to B to C.
Yeah.
So I felt like I needed a better system in place just to fine tune what I already had.
Yeah.
And literally we sat down and we, with a whiteboard, mapped out some of this stuff, and it immediately implemented it, immediately made my life easier and less stressful.
Yeah. And I will say that the beauty about Rose is that she just takes action. Her mindset stuff is just go do it and test it out. It's never, I mean, well, to an extent, we'll talk about the phones here in a second, but it's, you didn't think I was going to bring that up. She does take action in it. And I can tell that I think there's less meaning on the other side of you taking action and testing something out, because you very much are a database person. So I know you're starting to track the data more closely and what metrics really matter in your business for you to get to that desired end result. And part of what I've noticed along your journey over the past few months is, because especially with your hiring process, where we noticed that the data wasn't quite adding up, is she had no problem getting people in the door that she hired. She was very quick to hire a bunch of people. And then her process was, she knows a certain percentage of those are not going to make it through their training. And then those that do, we try to manage them and lead them from there. But she had a lot of people coming in the door as employees and not a whole lot of staying. And so we kind of flipped the script with one of our processes that we teach inside of the mastermind, which is getting more intentional about the application process so that she's getting better quality employees from the start, rather than investing time, energy, resources, money into people who are only staying 2 weeks that really aren't cut out for it. So kind of talk to me about both the hiring and even your onboarding process and how that's changed over the past few months of being in the mastermind.
I think the hiring process we fine tuned. I think we had already worked through that quite a bit, like before I even met you. And then we just went in and said, what's working, what's not working. And we fine tuned that. But I think that where we really change things is the training from the moment they walk in the door. And not only that, but the interview. Once they get to the interview, asking them very pointed questions to find out. Let me backtrack a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
Do you know where really changed my interviewing process? When I found out my core values.
Oh,
so that I could, and that was a hard one for me, because I couldn't, like, you remember, it was hard for me to get out. I'm not a word person. I wouldn't call myself a really emotional person. So it's hard for me to describe what it is that's really important to me. But if I can't describe it, how can I find those people that can represent that?
Yeah.
And I think that finding those core values and asking them pointed questions towards those core values have helped me find the type of people who really are part of a team and want to be part of a team, versus people who are going to, so to say, flip through the door.
Yeah. The warm bodies.
Yeah. And that's 100% not what I want. I want someone who's going to come in and stay there. I want to be able to pay them well. I want to be able to treat them well. And I want to be able to train them. But unfortunately, training is a two-way street. Yeah. You have to want it. I can't just want it for you. And finding people who are willing to accept that training.
Yeah. And what was cool too was also, I want to say it was probably about March, so about 3 months ago, when we were talking about you creating like this buddy system, where it was like, instead of you being the one that's like the relationship and the connection that they're having, and you're doing the training and all the stuff, like you provide this warm environment where they're automatically starting to make friends, because you were having this issue of people having anxiety and leaving the job because of anxiety, and they didn't necessarily feel connected, or you had your kind of senior team members who were kind of cliquey, and then you had new team members, but because they kept coming in and out, senior team members were resistant, I think, to creating connections because they didn't know how long they were going to be there. And now kind of talk me through how you're implementing the senior team members, really taking some of those newer team members under their wing.
So I think that two things we changed that made a big difference. number one, we created assistant managers. We didn't have that before. And we also, not only can they reach out to the assistant manager who checks in with them, and we do weekly evaluations, not evaluations, but they're more of a check-in.
Yeah.
To see, like, are you having problems with anything? And we don't have managers do that. We have assistant managers do that. And then we have an additional buddy.
Yeah.
That, hey, I want to introduce you to, Alana. She's going to be your go-to girl if, Val or Ingrid is busy.
Yeah.
And that was a game changer in a lot of ways, because sometimes they do get nervous around me because I'm not in there as much. And, like, people get nervous around
Your
their
authority figure.
Yeah. So then they don't want to reach out to me, but having multiple people they can reach out to, so the support system is there, and if they want it, it's there. Because lashing, let's face it, lashing when the first 3 months is hard. Like, it's not like you're gonna, like, a lot of people think you're just gonna get in there and it's gonna be like bam bam, I'm amazing. It's not. It's like skating uphill with a backpack on. You'll get up the hill, but you just got to keep skating.
It ain't gonna be pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if just from a business perspective, when we were talking through this, it really is an employee retention strategy, right?
Mhm.
It's creating more connection for that new team member. So they want to stay, not just for the job, not just for the pay, but for the team culture, their friends. Like, as long as they're making friends there, they're more inclined to stay. So from Rose's, management perspective, just even introducing and being intentional about the connection that the new team member can make with the more senior team members is really, really powerful to make that team member feel much more comfortable, much more valued and welcomed there, as opposed to, you're just in here, you're just going to pump out lashes and we're going to build you a clientele. They all of a sudden start to feel this culture that you're creating. So it was very intentional on her part.
And I do think the other thing, like the evals, like, they're not really evaluations, us telling you what you're doing or not doing. We're asking you, like, is there anything we can do better? Do you have any thoughts? Is there any training that we haven't given you that you feel like you need? And I feel like that creates, like, maybe if someone's shy, they're not going to ask for it. But if you're straight point blank in their face saying, do you need anything? Is there anything that I can do to make your job better? Is there anything that management can do to create a better environment for you? And then a lot of times, if there is an issue, they're more than happy to say it. And then you find out there's an issue and you can fix it before it becomes too big of an issue.
Right. So you're being proactive, and especially with a bigger team, there's a lot of personalities. There's a lot of different stuff that can happen that management may never be aware of until there's a big explosion of somebody's personality, or that you lose a really good quality team member because they were unhappy with so-and-so, or a toxic gossip environment. You're being proactive in handling these fires that are coming up instead of reactive.
Yes. And it makes such a big difference.
Yeah. And you're also kind of eliminating this, what tends to happen for people that want to go out on their own is they feel like, their opinion wasn't valued and they think they can do it better. But if you're opening up that communication between management and the team, then they get to have a voice and things that they think that they can improve upon without having to go out and do it on their own. So you're, again, minimizing that turnover, which can happen when you get to your level, is a lot of employee turnover if you're not intentional about the creation of the culture and the team and the vision and core values.
Yeah, I agree. And just putting these things into place. And that's what I've started doing since I started the program. And these were the things that I found more important, because hiring was not my issue. Getting employees was not my issue. The two biggest concerns I had were employee retention, client retention. Yeah. How do we keep more employees? How do we keep more clients? How do we make them happy? Because getting the two is not my problem at this point. It's keeping.
Yeah. What a great problem to have, right? So talk to me about what we discussed at the retreat as far as your client retention strategy, which really is about you being intentional with your process of getting a predictable client experience, right? We talked about the 5-star experience. So kind of walk people through what that looks like, or how you create a desired end result through what your team members do for the client experience.
So one of our biggest goals was creating client retention, which in order to do that is it's just taking something that's been successful and repeating it by creating processes,
Mhm.
which
I like how you use the finger quotes. If you're just listening to this, she uses finger quotes because she's like, process. Tara and Nadine processes.
I can't say that word without finger quotes. And basically it is what we do correctly from beginning to end to create a 5-star experience. And we don't want people to just be good enough, because I feel like if you're good enough, people could really just go anywhere. We want to go above that and create an exceptional service. So how do you do that on repeat, even when you're not feeling great, even when you're not in the mood for it? Because you're unrealistic to believe that every person that walks in the door is going to be in a great mood all the time. There are going to be days that you're high. There's going to be days that are low. So basically what we did, me and Tara, we sat down and we came up with a script. What we expect, we did 2 different scripts, actually. We did one for customer service and we did one for the actual service. So the one is going to be what they say, what they do, how often we want them to say it. For example, a comfort check.
Yeah.
We expect them to ask their client, are you comfortable at least 1 time per hour, unless they're asleep? Having that script has changed everything. We are still implementing that, but that is a work in progress, because, I feel like the technicians that are most successful, they already do it.
Yeah.
But the ones that struggle to keep people on their books, they're not doing it. So, and we talked about that, and that's what we kind of discovered. But I don't think it's because the technicians who don't do it, I don't think it's because they don't not want to. I think it's that they don't understand the importance of it.
Yeah.
So since we made it not, what's the word I'm looking for, a suggestion, now it's a policy.
Yeah, it's a requirement.
It's a requirement. Same thing for the service. What do successful technicians do differently than ones that aren't?
Yeah.
And that's what we narrowed down in our one-on-one. We narrowed down what was the difference between successful technicians, and let's walk it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, the desired result is for a consistent customer experience, no matter who they see. Especially when you're, yes, we want our individual team members to be fully booked and have their amazing clients, but we also want clients to be able to go to any technician and still get the same results. And that is something that you can proactively create and by processes. Because if your team is following the same process every single time, then there's no reason why one client seeing 2 different technicians shouldn't end up with the same result no matter what. Yes, you'll have personality differences, and definitely clients can prefer one personality type over the other, but ultimately their results and their experience can be very much the same.
Yeah. And obviously they will, like, but you don't want, and see, this is another thing that we started doing in our onboarding. You don't want that client not to see anybody else. Do you like to go on vacation? Do you like to have your free time? Do you have kids and there could be an emergency? Now, what happens then, and you have an emergency and that client doesn't want to see anyone else? Why would you want that?
Yeah. And then a client would be disappointed because they had to see somebody else or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
And you're still going to get that to an extent, but okay, I'll see that person. This is what we get most time. Oh, I'll see that person this once, but then I want to go back. And
especially that happens with you, the owner who's trying to step out of the treatment room, and you have your clients that you have a great connection with, but they're so resistant to seeing anybody else because you have built it up in your mind and in their minds that nobody can do it the way that you do it and nobody will take care of them. And we start to make these little exceptions. Oftentimes I see this with lash artists where they don't increase the prices of their current clientele, and they have a hard time getting their clientele to grow with them and to, see other team members at a cheaper price point or whatever. You get these clients who are only locked in on seeing you, and you can't create scalability that way.
I also think that's a fear one puts in one's mind. Looking back, like I'll be honest with you, my clients from stepping out of the they're fine. They're all alive. They're all lashes. And
nobody died because they couldn't get lashes from Rose.
Nobody died. And now I have free time to do other things that are important to me. And if you have a team this size, one of your biggest problems, they say, is if you're in the chair too much, you're not able to be a leader. And if you're not able to be a leader, then you might as well be, that's where you're going to have the high turnover of both kinds.
More time with more turnover conversations than you are actually building out a predictable revenue growth model. Yeah.
And the money it cost you is insane. Looking back, if I would have just stepped out of the chair from the beginning, trained appropriately, had my main manager step out of the chair more, train appropriately, the money I would have saved in just employee turnover and client turnover would have been insane. If I would have had the systems in place that I have now, even just, me and you have talked about like the health issues that it caused me. That all of that would have been maybe not completely gotten rid of, but definitely minimized, because stress brings that out. It is not a healthy thing to have.
Yeah.
But it's been very, very, very helpful to me.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, just even talking about what it cost you. So at Rose's level at 1.2 million, even if, let's say, and she works, I think a little bit less than this, but let's say the average amount of working hours in a year is 2,080 work hours. I think that's taking 2 weeks vacation and working 40 hours a week. That is 2,080 available hours to work in a year. At 1.2 million, her hourly rate as the CEO is $577. So thinking about taking one client for an hour of time in the treatment room, even if you're charging $150 for that fill, it's still in theory costing your business an extra 400 some odd dollars for you to not be doing the revenue generating activities or even the scalable activities that the CEO can do. I mean, can you imagine if Jeff Bezos was like packaging boxes as part of his job, what a cost that would come at to the company, right? Yet so many business owners are still doing all the things in their business, and at your level, and this is what we talked about and what we're still working through, is her being so tied to the phone. She has a phone that is tied for both businesses where she does all text messages back and forth with clients, reminders, because she wants to be able to be ahead of any customer support issues. Yet customer support is the lowest level task of almost any business and is something that should be templated out for most issues. And Rose has been doing this long enough. She knows like the main 10 questions people ask and the main 4 problems they have or whatever it is. So we're working with her even at that level, even at the level she's at where she is mainly handling customer service and that's it, to get that off of her plate to free her up, because there really isn't anything that's all that serious that Rose needs to be bothered with it outside of her normal working schedule. And so that's, even at her level, there's still things that she is working through and letting go of and working through the mindset that's keeping her in that place, because it's creating a lot of extra stress unnecessarily. So
yeah, the phones are definitely my last thing.
Her control, I don't want to call it an issue. Reflection. It's a reflection of the need to control that we're working through. And so it's been a beautiful journey to watch your evolution and how you see it, because I do think that you have a plan now.
Yeah, I have let go of them quite a bit, and I have taken all things to online and changed everything to where I don't have to immediately respond to things. And soon I plan to get someone to probably take them and do the check-ins and do all of those things that are probably that I'm currently doing.
Yeah, because again, looking at it, everything that Rose does, even at her level, there is a process in her head. It's just we need to pull it out of her head so that somebody else can take it over. And she has a couple of really stellar team members that she trusts immensely that want to do these things for her and get it off her plate. So she's very lucky that she has amazing team members that at her level, she has that support system. And I do recommend, at what point did you start putting Val in her role? She's a stellar manager.
You know what? Even before she was a manager, she just always did stuff beyond her role.
Yeah.
Like she's just always been a stellar employee. She's an overachiever. She's got that personality type where if she sees a problem, she's just going to help me fix it. And she's always had a very good ability of understanding what I wanted and being able to implement it.
Yeah.
Which
very
is
protective of you, which is great.
Very, very much. And not only that, she doesn't isn't counterproductive in my goals. Like she understands what my goals are, and she's very good communicator. And I think as a manager, there's a few things that you have to have in order to, and it was just, when I put her in the role, it was just a no-brainer. It was obvious that
She was already kind of doing that role, and so you just kind of made it official.
Correct. But at the time, I had the one studio, and I was still behind the chair full time, like, and I just didn't have the structures in place that I do now. And I really wish before I created a team, I would have met you and created those structures, because half of the issues that I went through, I could have not went through, and it would have been way less stressful. Like, even I was watching in the group, it's very fun for me to watch the group, because I see different parts of me in different places. And like, they have such an advantage over what I had just in their hiring process.
But
Because
even have you listened to the episodes where every single one of them talks about you, and they're like, she's so much further ahead. Like, how am I supposed to help her out? It's been so funny to watch that, because I'm like, she's in the same room. Like, there's so much value you guys are adding to her as well. So share with me like that perspective, because you are the one that results wise, external results, you are further along. But you're saying like, oh man, I wish I had this when I was at your level, kind of thing.
absolutely. One of the things that I see a lot of them get very, like, their fears.
Yeah.
Their fears of letting go, and I just want to shake them and be like,
let it go.
yeah, because I think the one that cracks me up the most is Victoria, because she's so organized.
She's
I was
so
like,
organized. I love it.
if I only had those skills. Like, she over organizes. It's great.
She's got binders for everything.
Color coded.
Yes, it's beautiful.
It's great. But I do see all of them like with the legitimate fears that I had.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you kind of need someone to explain to you the perspective change.
Yeah.
Like, you think, like, as a lash tech that's hiring somebody, you think, and I hear this on podcasts all the time, I just need to train somebody to help me, but I can't give up my income that I'm producing from the lashing in order to train this person. But I think that that's a huge mistake, because then you're going to waste your money and training people, because your time is money. Just like deposits with clients. I hear all of them say, oh, I don't know about but it's because it's their time. When I got serious about deposits was when I was paying employees.
Whether they were paying clients or not.
Correct. And then I was like, hold on, I'm losing money. But then when I thought about it, I'd always been losing money. It was just my time money. And time is, you're at work. You wouldn't go work for somebody else and expect to not get paid for an hour because a client didn't show up.
Yeah.
But it is so interesting to see each one of them and their struggles, and each one of them, it's similar struggles to what I have had. And some of the things, like, I still have my phones are sitting right here looking at me. Yep. So I have struggles too. Even with some of their employee issues, some of the stuff is stuff I still haven't worked out yet, because if I had 100%, unfallible system, I probably wouldn't meet anybody, You'd
be doing this. So tell me about, so there's 3 different components to the program. There is the coaching aspect. So Rose was, she also got one-on-one coaching as a part of the program. And there was also the hot seats we include in the coaching. There was the curriculum, the content, the how-to, the processes, and then there's the community, which is you and the other girls. What part was most valuable to you out of those 3?
One-on-one.
The coaching.
The one-on-one coaching. The hot seats were very helpful too. I would not say that those were not helpful. The community was more, that's just great. It's just fun. But where I got the most work done, just because where I'm at, is definitely going to be the one-on-one. The curriculum, I did enjoy that too, because I was able to add to the systems that I already had and fine tune them. And there was not one Zoom meeting that we had that I didn't get something amazing out of it. And the next day I would have a meeting with my manager and we would immediately implement those things.
Yeah. The amount of like turnaround for you to go implement something was really impressive. And I think that has attributed to how much growth you've had, because it's not always about getting it perfect and getting it right and waiting for the right time. It's let's go test it, right? Like, here's a new idea, here's a new process, here's a new thing. Let's see if it gets us there closer, better, faster, easier.
Yeah.
So somebody, go ahead.
I think being a perfectionist is a huge downfall in that area, because you try to perfect it so much that you end up procrastinating.
And yet it's also counterproductive, because how do you get to a perfect result? You fail and you mess up and find what you don't want and what doesn't work. You don't know that ahead of time. So as much as you want to be able to control and get it to be perfect, there really is no way for you to know how to get to perfect if you've never done it before without testing, you know?
Well, and I definitely can say, no matter how much you talk about it, until you do it, you're not going to see the kinks.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to see them like most of the problems that came up were just random problems, and we made them a hot seats. Like, this is the problem today.
Yeah, there's one particular problem that we won't talk about today, but that's coming up for me. Like, how could you have predicted that? So yeah,
it's not like most of the major issues that you have. I can't talk about any of them because I don't ever want to make anyone feel bad, but there are nothing you could ever dream up in a book. Yeah. That I guarantee.
Yep. Agreed. All right. So if somebody is sitting on the fence, not sure whether this program is the right next step for them, what advice can you give them to help make an informed decision?
Well, I think that if you are somebody without a team, I don't see how you could not do this, because it's going to cost you twice as much money to build that team without these systems in place, and you are going to waste money. If you have a team in place, this will help you fine tune what you have. And I just don't see how someone can do it without this at this point.
A lot of painful learning lessons, expensive learning lessons.
It's the expense of it. The thing that I took out of it the most was the systems and processes and the fine tuning them. And for example, if I hire an employee and they stay 4 months longer than they would have originally, I've got more money out of their training than if they would leave. Yeah. And just our 5-star customer service that me and you implemented. If that saves 20% of clients, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's ginormous. That's 20% of clients that I don't have to advertise for anymore.
Right. And with the cost of advertising to get new clients in the door, much less retaining the current ones you have.
Correct. And now that's in the short term. Now the long term, I mean, who can really measure how much you've gained out of that? No. I don't know. I've taken a lot out of this class, and it's been very, very useful for me. And so have all the other ladies. I know that they have.
Awesome. Yeah, it's weird that it's coming to an end, because it feels like we're just starting to get, like, after the retreat, I feel like we hit a whole new level of community connection, clarity. I feel like in so many ways, we're just starting to like ramp people up. Even Erica and Lauren messaged me that they were keeping each other accountable to just start moving forward on just getting a new team member on board, because they've kind of been dragging their feet, and now they're both like, nope, we're doing it. So it's been a really beautiful experience to be a part of. So given that this is going to be the last episode, for those of you that are listening that are part of Mastermind, including you, Rose, thank you so much for trusting me and letting me go on this journey with you. I will have my whole hurrah on our final call, but this has just been the best. I didn't realize how much I needed this group too. So it's been insanely valuable to me as well.
Well, and I also think that was one of the major attributes of it, is the inspiration. Like, sometimes when you work daily, you kind of get stagnant and you forget where you can improve. And sometimes you just need a little bit of inspiration from other ladies, and even just to find ladies that own salons that have similar problems to me, not just salons, but lash salons that are definitely not anywhere near my competition, because they're in different states. So it's so nice to, like, I wouldn't even say if I have a problem, but if I just want to reach out and talk to my friend about lashes, I have that now. It's nice.
Yay. Awesome. That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much. So applications are closing on June 10th for season 2 of the Mastermind, which starts in July July. And so we're doing the application process. You apply, you pay a $250 refundable deposit, which means that if you're not selected for the program or you don't want to join, we refund that back to you. It's just a way for us to weed out the people that aren't serious about it. And then you jump on a 30-minute call with me so we can understand about where you're at in your business, where you want to be, and what obstacles are getting in the way. To apply, there is no obligation to join. And again, you're not guaranteed a spot because we do make sure that it's the right fit and the right group of people so that we have this really great community. So if you're interested in applying the mastermind, the link is thelashpreneur.com/mastermind application. Applications closed June 10th for season 2. Rose, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll catch you guys next time. Have a good one.
Thank you.